Well, let's, for emphasis, understand what the Second Amendment is about. The Second Amendment is designed to help ensure that we, the citizenry, always have the right to take back our government should it become dictatorial. That was a great fear of the Founding Fathers, and quite frankly, it's a fear today. And as long as we enjoy uninfringed Second Amendment rights, then we don't really have to worry that much about the government ever becoming dictatorial.
Okay, so we played that video of Mo Brooks for a couple of different reasons. One, when the president says everything is different now because of how bad Uvalde was, that is a reminder, no, they are making the exact same arguments that they were. Something, the Tree of Liberty, something, watering. That it's the same argument, by the way, and just as stupid. By the way, that argument is even a little bit more ridiculous than it used to be, because the people who are most committed to the Second Amendment, which will stop dictatorships, were busy storming the Capitol to get their dictator a couple of years ago. So again, like it's a myth as well. But look, that's Mo Brooks. That's one of the Republicans that supposedly is now going to be shamed into supporting gun control because more dozens of kids were killed. Look, but he's a crazy, sure, and he might not even be a representative for that much longer. So let's go to one of the more moderate ones, like a Dan Crenshaw, who says that he doesn't even support red flag laws nationally or in Texas, where it happened and where maybe this would have saved those kids. Because what you're essentially trying to do with a red flag law is enforce the law before the law is broken. And isn't it more reasonable, Francesca, to let him shoot up the school? Because then he's broken a law. I mean, we can't stop him when it's clear that he wants to murder people. When a kid rushes out on the first day that he can buy an AR and goes and gets it. And anyway, that is, red flag laws are such a minimal solution to the problem. This is not an assault weapons ban. This is not a mandatory buyback. This is not anything like that. That's just, hey, so like if you're like saying a bunch of crazy stuff and being really violent, maybe you shouldn't have one of these weapons. And he doesn't even support that. That's how little has actually changed from last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you have been brutalizing your family, that they can call, and if they call the police, that police officer will put an automatic hold on your gun, and or try and go wrest it from you. Because we know there's a correlation between, let's say, intimate partner violence and mass shootings and gun violence, right? So, but no, we can't do that. And again, this is the party that we've elected. I think the NRA is so interesting. We saw how the bleachers weren't full because the NRA has become obsolete because they've won. It doesn't matter that Wayne LaPierre is up to his, ears in like debt and insane, like sort of like they're awful right now, right? They're in shambles, but that's okay because they have elected and brainwashed the American public into electing utter crazies that again, like you're saying, are absolutely fine when it's tyranny in their direction. When they have to exercise violence in order to install who? An unelected dude that they just simply prefer. Yeah. And then this is the two more things on this. Every time I hear the Second Amendment recited to me, I'm always struck by the well-regulated part. Okay, so what about gun laws in this country if you believe that everyone is part of a militia that is just waiting in lie? That this gentleman, this 18-year-old, he was gonna shoot up a school and he brutalized or he threatened women online, but he was actually part of a secret militia. Let's go Brandon militia. Like, okay, even if you were to believe that, where's the well-regulated part? Like, at what point do we are we, is there tests for our militia members? No, it doesn't matter. There's no well-regulated part to guns in this country.
In Texas, they stripped away the training requirement. Like literally like safety training, the minimal thing, they stripped that away. Again, America is a country that bans books. It doesn't have good reading comprehension. The Second Amendment is a handful of words and they can still ignore two of them because they're inconvenient. And the idea that, final thought.
No. Final point is, the thing is, what's funny about the way that they want to solve everything is that we're headed towards militarism and tyranny under their new restrictions. If you want to turn every single school into a prison, if you want to turn every single school into an airport, you want that effectively looks like tyranny for those children.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, if Donald Trump becomes president and then a year later, like I don't think they would, but let's say that they change the Constitution so that he could run endlessly and we just have sham elections. Not a single one of these people is gonna be watering the tree of liberty. They're going to be firing some celebratory AR gunfire into the air. That's gonna be it. Anyway, as you alluded to, there is some stuff about making schools into airports. So John Cornyn, who is one of the politicians that Biden specifically named as reasonable, tweeted, "Do like airports?" That was his proposal. Do like airports, make school like airport. He's reasonable. You could probably work with him. And why wouldn't they have these positions? As Francesca said, the NRA isn't even necessary anymore because they've won. In the same way that you don't hear that much about QAnon because it's just every Republican believes QAnon now. Yeah. It's not its own thing. And on the right, they're still getting pumped into the nonsense, like Jesse Waters over the weekend blaming critical race theory consultants for school shootings. Tucker Carlson threatens more violence over us trying to stop the violence. Tell me again, what is different about this time? And what's different about this time what's not different isn't just that all of the same people who didn't give a damn about Sandy Hook and didn't give a damn about, Tree of Life and didn't give a damn about Thousand Oaks and didn't give a damn about the Vegas shooting and didn't give a damn about Pulse. They don't care about any of these. Also, people aren't even paying as much attention. So this is supposed to be the one that breaks through, right? Well, here's a really unfortunate chart for you. Take this up. This is online engagement after these shootings. Parkland, that was the one that felt different. Again, it resulted in only some minor sort of like state level legislation. The Uvalde one is already like plunging 1 week after the shooting. And eventually, no one will be talking. Eventually, we will have to move on when it has become abundantly clear that nothing is gonna be done. No, nothing has changed. They haven't switched their position on guns. Not even the rhetoric has changed. The day of, right-wing pundits were talking about the Second Amendment and barely even pretending to care about these dead kids. And I know that this is like me being a Buzz Killington, and I know this is me being, really pessimistic and everything. We love the idea that there's at least a silver lining coming out of all this bloodshed, but I'm not gonna lie and say that it's there when there's no evidence that it is.
I will say though, the silver lining I take away from that chart is that the Parkland massacre was longer in the headlines because those kids were 15 and 16-year-olds. They were about to go to college. And this is a reason why we need to lower the voting age to 16 or 17, because they had a voice. They were not 10-year-olds. 10-year-olds obviously have a voice, but they understood what was going on. These poor elementary school kids should never be worried about things like this, nor obviously should high schoolers. But those high schoolers made sure they were marching, they were in the headlines, they made sure, and I don't care. Some of them went on talk shows, good, great. They cried on national television, amazing. They stuck it to politicians, love it. They hounded Marco Rubio, even better. Like each thing they did was to tell the nation we're not going to move on from this. And now you see people like David Hogg outside of the Houston NRA conference standing with people, standing with the victims, standing with the community. And that really does give me hope that if you make this an issue, it will continue to be an issue, and that you can't F with these younger generations and trust when those Uvalde students who covered themselves in blood to save their own lives as they watched their classmates die, when they get a little bit older, they're gonna be amped on this issue as well.
I hope so. I hope. I mean, God only knows what another decade of this conservative supermajority in the Supreme Court will do to gun laws, or to the possibility of, like, now at least we have this sort of illusion that like maybe we could do the background checks, maybe we could change the age. Maybe the Supreme Court will blow that up preemptively before we can even do it. Maybe they will put down, a precedent, but in this case, it would be a conservative precedent. So they would pretend that you're bound by it in the future, that you can't do any of this stuff. There can't be any, maybe fully automatic weapons will just be legalized. Like most right wingers wouldn't even dare to say that that should be the case. It blows a massive hole in their argument that there can't be any regulation on guns when they clearly accept so many potential regulations But the status quo, we might not even be able to hope that those laws can be passed in the future. They gave speeches at the NRA mere days after the shooting. Tell me again how much has changed. I don't want to be the Buzz Killington. I want to believe that better things can happen, but on this issue, it is just, and it doesn't matter that like the public doesn't support them. The public supports all these regulations we talk about. It just doesn't matter. It's just, we're not in a democracy of that sort.
But that's what's okay. Last thing on this final point is that what's so disheartening is that you've got supposed Democratic leaders like Eric Adams, who the DCCC somehow loves all of a sudden because he's super pro cop, and they're so effing worried. They're so scared that everyone thinks that the Democrats are defund the police proponents. No, we don't. Nobody actually thinks that. Fox News, who is bad faith about everything, and that's it. And it's so sad because on the days after, instead of arguing, being pro cop by being pro gun control, like Eric Adams could have done, no, he's just like, we need better cop PR. Yeah, man, we need better cops. How about that?
Yeah, just and again, like even nothing makes sense anymore. Like the two things they're supposed to be is pro cop, pro life. They're supporting guns that are used against kids and that cops are terrified of. Yes. Nothing makes any sense.
Nothing makes sense.
I mean, it does. It's the wrapping paper on the substance of our politics doesn't even make sense. The substance does. They don't care about this. I don't think that the vast majority of right-wing elites actually give a damn about guns, but it is a very easy thing to use to get about 30% of the country fired up over.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.